friends, haters, lovers. How y'all doing? I feel like I've been starting every episode off with, it's been rough. But, I just put, a little trigger warning now. I'll be discussing death, and my most recent experience with it. My pupperchulo, my pup, Aleasha, has transitioned into her next phase. Who knows what that looks like? I say that she's running around helping souls get to heaven. That sounds fun, right? My doggo was 15 years old. I've had her since I was 9. I'm 24. Yeah. Math. I wasn't surprised, though. Like I said, she's 15, and she looks like she's 15. But the other day, Monday, before I go to work, I could tell she's just not really getting up. Her eyes are open, but she's not really lifting up her head, and she's not really walking. So maybe I thought that she was just still tired, right? And so I go upstairs to get myself ready. And then I hear my mom asking me to come downstairs because she told me Aleasha's not walking. So I'm like, okay, and like I said, I've been preparing myself because my baby's 15 and her breed usually only lives to 12. So she's a survivor, point blank, and the period. Fucking code. And so I come downstairs, and I wasn't even trying to get her to walk because if my baby wanted to walk, she would have. So I just came down the steps, and there was a way that she just looked at me. And I feel like any of my previous dog or pet owners understand the looks of their pet. And my baby looked at me like she was real tired. Real tired. It's the first time I ever seen her look at me like that. And she was like hunching her back. You could tell her back legs were hurting. And so I just went and picked her up. And I gave her some love, and I was like, you know what? I'm always have your back. So I'm literally about to walk outside. Walk outside in some damn boxers and a sports bra because I have very little care, and I ain't never gave a fuck. But my mother makes me realize that you can't just go outside in your underwear. But they're boxers, so I'm like, they're like shorts, but nonetheless, my brother took her outside, and she started to walk a little bit, use the bathroom, but still just wasn't herself. But she did jump back in the house. So I'm like, all right, nothing's broken per se, but she's just really, really, really uncomfortable. And so I got her little mat, and she likes to lay on my hoodies. So I put down some of my hoodies, just helped her get into her little ball shape, and then gave her a bunch of treats. Because I think in that moment, I kind of knew that her and I's time was coming to a close, but I was just hoping I wouldn't come to find her when I got off of work. And so then my mom tells me she's throwing up and she's not eating and she's barely drinking water. And then like a couple hours later, she's like, Aleasha fell over, she's collapsing, she's this, she's that. So I'm like, fuck. When I tell y'all, I sped down 28 like it was a fucking NASCAR. Oh, man. So I get home, and she doesn't even get up to come greet me at the door. She literally was just doing yesterday. Like, she was all good the weekend before. Everything was fine, but Monday hit, and my baby said she wanted a nap, a very long nap. And so I just picked her up. Long story short, we took her to the vet, and the vet let us know that she was dying from old age, and that the care that she needs would be made up of inpatient care and would total over $6,000. And I love my dog. But the one thing I'm not going to do is have her in and out of the vet every other day. That's not a life. And she was in pain. Both her kidneys were failing. She had arthritis in both her hips. Little mama didn't run her race. She didn't run her race. So if we weren't willing to invest the money for her to have maybe another 3 months of life, that wouldn't even really be life for her. I feel like it really would have been for us, just to see her, just to have her around. And I wasn't going to do that to my baby. So we made the decision to put her down. And it was probably one of the most difficult things I've ever had to do. Because like I said, this is my very first dog since I was 9 years old. And her and I have been through so much. It has supported me through so much. So I held her. I was the first to hold her of the family whenever we got her when she was 6 weeks old. And I was the last one to hold her. And she made sure that she poked her head out enough outside of the blanket to rest on my arm so she could really feel me as she transitioned. And it was really fucking hard. If anybody's ever had to put their dog down before, oh my goodness. So after she had took her last couple of breaths, nurse came in, or I'm not sure what you call vets that aren't the doctors. You know, like a vet nurse. I don't want to disrespect nobody. But she came in to get Aleasha, and it was so fucking hard to hand my pup over. But I had to tell myself that her spirit is no longer in there, and that this is simply her vessel, and that wherever she is now, she's good and she's not in pain. And the reason why, like, of course, just to get it out, to talk about the death of my doggo, but then also the fact that this may be my closest experience with death. When I was younger, parents used to take me to a lot of funerals of people that I didn't even know. And it felt really uncomfortable for me to be in these spaces with everybody grieving so much from the loss of this person that I never even knew. And so after like the third or fourth time, and then one time I was asked to be a participant and a part of the funeral, again, of a person that I did not know, that I had never even met. I still was, share my condolences and did the best I could to comfort the people around me. Like, I didn't even know the people closest to the individual that had passed. So it was just a really uncomfortable predicament for me. And so after a while, I had made the decision to tell my parents I was no longer attending funerals or wakes of individuals that I did not know, because it felt really uncomfortable for me to be in a space and not know the person. I still send my condolences and pray for the family and their grieving and their mourning. I feel like with this world, we've been so desensitized to death. Mass shootings, murders in our neighborhoods. It's been a lot. And I never really paid attention to the friends that I've lost along this process of life as well. Friends that I've had, in kindergarten and elementary school and middle school, die either from domestic violence or car accidents or violence, gang violence. It's desensitizing. And it's so hard to kind of keep up, maybe, I guess. And it really leads me to talk about my next point, about how so often we've desensitized ourselves so much to death that we really just continue it like nothing even happened. But then there's people out there just suffering and groveling and trying their best to keep themselves together because they're losing somebody that was in their life every day, and now they're just gone. Like, even the next day, after I literally just held Aleasha, the next day I tried to get up and put food in her bowl. Like, somebody that's a part of your everyday habits, and now they're just gone. Sometimes I feel like we're just so desensitized to death that like we're used to that type of trauma in our DNA. And if you really want to learn more about what I'm talking about, head over to my website. And I think it's Inside Perspective. I don't just know it's insideperspective.org, where I talk about trauma and DNA and transgenerational trauma and how this trauma can be passed down to us. And so I don't even know if this is a word, but I'm going to try to get it out. But the desensitization. I think y'all get what I'm trying to say. We're so used to people being killed, murdered, whether it's from police, whether it's from violence, gang violence, domestic violence. Like, there's this okayness with violence and death that we've crafted in our communities that really just hurts. And I never really tried to dive too much into it, at least like the death part, mostly because I'm grateful for enough that nobody extremely close to me or in my close circle or somebody that I operate with on a day-to-day basis has been taken from me. And that, when I say taken from me, I just also want us to keep in mind that not anything is ever ours. It's all just borrowed matter. And at one point, our Creator calls it back. My brain is like running a mile a minute because I'm also grieving, but then also trying to explain how death impacts us in more ways than just it being in our DNA, but just in our sense of self and our sense of wholeness, our personhood, our humanness. There's a term called nihilism, coined by Cornel West. And nihilism is spelled NIHLISM. And it talks about the lived experience of a Black person feeling lovelessness, as if their life isn't important. Why try your hardest to build and to grow and to build up whatever you want out of your life if your life can just be taken in a split second by someone that doesn't like the color of your skin or doesn't like your sexual orientation or how you present yourself. Like, we just got so used to that type of death happening. Like, I used to call myself a triple threat in college, just waiting to be eliminated. And I'm a Black woman-loving woman. But then I turned to a community that helped me realize that my life is important and that my life is worthy to be lived. Death is hard to balance with life. And anybody who has lost somebody or is still grieving the loss of someone, you have my sincerest condolences and my love. And if there's ever anything I can do to support you in your process, even if it's just me listening, I'm a great listener. So please feel free to reach out to me. Death is so final. There is no way to prepare for it, even though I talked about with my doggo that, I knew it was coming, but nothing can truly prepare you to not have that person, that pet, in your life anymore. And then just, let me sit my ass up. Sometimes I feel like this world wants us to get used to death, like normalized death. And I know that death is a part of life, but there's also speeding up the process, taking power or control over that process. And this world has become so content with others taking control over the process of somebody's life and giving death. Policymakers, the government, all that, like, clearly they're cool with this shit. And if we look at history, there's some of them that's been doing this since the beginning of fucking time. And just like how I said trauma is passed down through our DNA, I still feel like hate, which is also trauma, can be passed down through DNA as well. There ain't no way you telling me that I still have the trauma of the lived experience of my great-grandmother running through my bones, running through my DNA. And somebody's KKK-ass grandma and grandfather, that shit ain't in your bones neither. And I'm not saying this to say that you're a racist person or a racist being, but a lot of the biases that we have in our bodies and in our minds, they come out in different ways. You may not think somebody should be lynched for being black, but you may not believe somebody who is a black person that said that they didn't steal, or said that they didn't cheat, or just may not believe them the same way you will believe somebody else. This lack of believing in humanness, the human body, the soul, the vessel. If you can't believe that every being that breathes and walks has that, and it's very easy for you to take that away, there's some soul searching that needs to be done. It just leaves me, now I'm thinking about hunting. People who go hunting, like, people that hunt for sport. It's just like, ugh. It's just a common theme, just unpacking death in my mind. I think I may open up my Discord when it comes to this conversation, especially when it comes to having a support system, a community to help get us through these really tough times and experiencing death the way and the rates in which we do. I love y'all. Y'all 30 people that tap in every time I drop an episode. I appreciate y'all. I thank y'all. I love when y'all DM me and talk about these things with me, but I think maybe opening up my Discord and finally launching it, I'm finally learning how to use it, may be truly beneficial for all of us as we live this life. And sometimes we just need a little bit more compassion and just to be gentle and soft. So often I feel like we're told to get over things or to get past it, and that's just not realistic. Our body holds on to every emotion we ever felt. And yes, we want to hold on to our happiness and hold on to our joy and our love. But there's certain things with death that comes with death that we can't always hold on to. And that anger is one of them. So I appreciate y'all. And whenever I do drop this Discord, if there's any advice or ways of support or means of support that kind of helps you through your grieving process that you think can help somebody else when it comes to losing a person or a pet, or even maybe a memento that means the world to you, we can help each other out. So this episode is dedicated to the best pup in the world, Aleasha Simone Coleman. Yes, her initials are the same as mine. To the best pup ever. I hope you're having fun waving.